Press B to cancel.
Hello and welcome back to Press B to Cancel. My name is Guy Prime. Today we are doing a little mini cast. It is myself and Sick Jake. Sick Jake, say hello, please.
Hello, everybody. Always glad to be here.
Cool. Yeah, samesies. So one thing Sick Jake and I realized over the course of the past year, we both had vacationed to Disney World down in Orlando, Florida, America, Earth. And that started us talking the other day about maybe we should do an episode where we just discuss our favorite retro, I guess they don't even have to be retro style Disney games, but Disney owned properties that were turned into video games. So that's what we're doing here today. And at some point I should have paused for channel identification, so let's punch that in here. Press B to cancel. I'm trying to cover all the different things that those guys do.
Just bring an RB game. That's what we do week after week.
Bring an RB game. All right, so Sick Jake, let's start with you before we move on to, I guess, me. Sorry, I'm falling into the old routines with the whole dais here. Tell me about some of the games that you grew up playing Disney-wise, and we'll go from there.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned, because now I think about it, you mentioned it doesn't have to be retro Disney games, because Disney's been making games for decades, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of new ones as well. They're all crap, though. The ones I like are the ones on Nintendo. When I think Disney games, to be honest, to be fair, I'm thinking mostly the Disney Afternoon game series. I don't even know if it's a series. I'm mostly thinking of games like Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers,
Yes.
DuckTales, right?
Yeah.
Like DuckTales is probably the one I would say first. I remember it vividly, mainly because of Nintendo Power. It was the first issue of Nintendo Power I got, was the one with DuckTales on it, and it had the maps and guides inside. I believe that's what it was. And I remember reading that magazine and just driving my parents nuts, asking for DuckTales. I didn't even watch Disney movies. I don't even like Disney movies. But I'm telling you, that game, DuckTales, Scrooge McDuck, that's a fantastic game. And I love every part of it. I like how you can select from the various different areas to go to. It's not a fixed order, right? If you want to go right to the moon, you totally can. Or you can start in the jungle, right? I like the various moves. I always appreciate Nintendo games that take advantage of the two buttons of the controller, right? Like there's just... And not in that bullshit Double Dragon, hit both buttons to drop kick move. That's garbage. No. But Scrooge McDuck with the hopping and the golf club move. It's a challenging game, but the gameplay is really solid. And I love DuckTales. I don't know if you played it before, GP.
Yeah, actually, that was last year. I had done a blind run of it on Twitch, and yeah, it was fun. It took me longer to beat it than I thought. When I think about Disney games, oftentimes I think about the deceptive, like, they're deceptively difficult. I never go in thinking, I'm going to get my ass kicked in, The Lion King. Guess what happens? So I did not anticipate, because I refused to learn, I did not anticipate that DuckTales was going to take me as long as it did. Same thing with Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Did blind runs of both of those, and I found the first one to be much better than the second, which was still good, but again, much more difficult than I thought they would ever, make a video game. I mean, it's Disney. You would think they're making this game for a 7-year-old, and who expects them to be able to struggle through a game like that?
No, there's no way that kids can play that game, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chip 'n Dale for me is that's the divorce game. I joke with my wife, because we tried playing it a handful of times. Like, she keeps wanting to stream with me. And I'm like, absolutely. Just let's find a game we can both play together, and we'll stream it. And we've tried Double Dragon and Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers, and I'm not sure which game is worse for our marriage, just in terms of like sure rage-inducing on both our parts, right? Like Chip 'n Dale's co-op is legendary. It's really fun. It's great to play, but when one of the couple is trying to collect all the damn items, the flower things, and the other one is trying to power through a level as fast as possible, it's impossible to get through. It's difficult one player. You're right. Two player, it feels impossible unless you're truly in sync.
Yeah, that is a good barometer for I don't want to say marital status. That's not accurate, but for like you said, being in sync with somebody, that's up there with Battletoads, I would imagine.
Well, here in the state of Florida, you can't get married unless you can beat Battletoads co-op.
Oh God.
Or Bliss, of course.
What they need to do is say you can't get divorced unless you do that, because A, nobody can do that, but B, if you can, you feel so happy and elated, you're like, fuck, maybe this is my soulmate. We're going to stick this one out.
There's light at the end of that turbo tunnel.
Oh my God. Well done.
Yeah, until Toad do us part.
Okay. Well, you were on a roll for as long as you could. That's I'm kidding. That's great. So, was your experience with the Disney games like limited only to the NES, or did you ever do like the Genesis or the Super Nintendo?
I'm trying to think. Genesis, I did own one, but I did not play. Well, no, that's not true. Aladdin for the Genesis, which is also quite a good game. I never finished it. I always meant to. And it wasn't done by Capcom. It was done by the folks at Virgin Media. I think we spoke about this before. Would end up being the team that did Earthworm Jim, did the Aladdin on Genesis. And the animation is so good, right? And again, I'm not a huge fan of the movies, but I can appreciate well-done cartoon animation. And to carry that into a Genesis title, Aladdin was very smooth and nailed the music. Mechanics were fun. It's a great game.
And I think that's actually a source of contention with a lot of people is which system did Aladdin and The Lion King. I think those were both ported for both the NES and the Sega Genesis.
Right.
And I think it's like I said, a source of contention about which platform did it best. And myself, I've only done Aladdin on the Super Nintendo. In fact, now that we're thinking of it, I had done that. There was our good friend ROTF Landmines from Twitch. Him and a few other people were doing a racing stream, right? Where they're like, well, let's just race it. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, what GP do you want in? I'm like, this is going to be a first playthrough for me. So yes, because they've been practicing it like all week. And I'm like, fuck it, let's do a first playthrough. So they beat me so badly. At one point I said, how about you guys play it again? Start from the beginning. And I still came in third after that out of like 4 or 5 guys. So it took me a while. I don't recommend doing a first playthrough when you're asked at the last second to do a race. But it was fun, and I really did enjoy it. I have seen people play it on the Genesis after that, and I'm going to have to try it on the Genesis so I can actually kind of throw my 2 cents into the which port was better. But it's interesting also that you had mentioned that it wasn't Capcom who had done that, because I believe Capcom, at least for the NES days, had the rights on lock for doing Disney games.
Right.
Yeah, so there's an LJN game for the Famicom Disk System that was Roger Rabbit, which I had to look this up to verify. Roger Rabbit is a Disney property, or at least it was. I'm not sure. I assume it still is.
Yeah, it's Technicolor, I think, and they are
Okay.
Touchstone, I think it's the company, and Disney owns them. I mean, Disney owns everything now, but back then it was Touchstone.
Okay, so the Famicom Disk System, they wanted to release this, but they couldn't do it in America because America, I guess Capcom had the rights, like I said. So they rebranded it because it was LJN, and then they released it with different sprite work in the U.S., and everybody knows it as Bugs Bunny's Crazy Castle.
Oh, really?
So that game, yeah, to me, that's like the biggest like trivia bit that I learned from all this stuff. That was originally a Roger Rabbit game that they resprited over to...
I mean, that could have been Space Jam. It's just wasted. Wasted.
But no, you're right. Like, that would have been great to have... Did they ever do a video game of Space Jam?
You know what? They probably did, and just like the movie, it's not worth
It was
your
great.
time.
Oh. I will play any video game that might have Bill Murray in it, except for Ghostbusters, but I think we can all kind of agree. As much as I love Ghostbusters, the video game was flaming trash.
Yeah, it's definitely a garbage pile. All that tapping.
So
But anyway, Disney. Disney, I mean, other titles, the 16-bit era, you mentioned Lion King earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that game at all. I actually don't mind the Island King.
Adventure Island King?
I've watched too much of that game. Too many adventures in that island. Lion King. I actually liked the Lion King movie It's not bad. But that game is something terrible. Like, they got the music and the art is okay, but the gameplay is just feels too loose. And not in a fun way.
And it didn't have the emotional impact of the movie. But then again, few things do.
Well, I mean, until they make that Bambi the game.
Oh, Lord.
You're just going to have that lack of lore and
So, okay, what's that look like?
deep character development.
The opening stage of Bambi, you're the hunter and you have the light gun?
It's really a sequel to Oregon Trail, the way I see it.
Oregon Trail. Spoken like a true Canadian. I love it. So, okay, let me ask you this. Yeah, Game Genie. Have you ever played the Kingdom Hearts games?
No. And part of me wants to. Because every time I watch a video or somebody tries to explain the plot of Kingdom Hearts, and when they struggle to get it across to me, because this is a Square game, right? And like true Square style, it's a mix of all that bullshit with the Disney lore, and it's just something. It's wild to me. It's like Death Stranding wild, and I don't think I could play those games, but I love hearing people tell me about the plot.
Sure. Yeah. See, that's how I am. Like, I have yet to play it. I've seen some of it. I love the idea of, like, the gravitas of Final Fantasy. But then when you're like, oh, and Mickey is there and Goofy. And I'm like, that completely negates the heft of it. Like, okay. We had talked earlier today, you and I, about, like, Final Fantasy Free Enterprise, the randomizer for Final Fantasy IV.
Right.
And I think about you're going through all this, and, you know, if you're familiar with the backstory of Final Fantasy IV, you know, it's the good and the evil and you know, the cataclysm that's coming, just standard issue Final Fantasy. But in the free enterprise at the end, instead of fighting the ultimate big bad Zeromus, they've replaced it with any number of random things that they have at their disposal, such as like a shoe. And it completely undercuts like the gravity of the situation. And that's kind of how I look at the idea of Kingdom Hearts, even though it looks awesome. And from what I hear, it's addictive and very well executed. And I don't doubt that. I'm sure it's a fun time. But I have a hard time wrapping my head around, like, oh my God, it's Sephiroth and Bluto. You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Is Sephiroth on the steamboat with Mickey Mouse? What's going on? So I have to give it a fair shake. I haven't done it yet. And as much as I like to poke fun at the idea, it does seem like a dartboard idea where they threw two darts and said, sure, let's do Final Fantasy and Disney. But hey, if it's awesome, it's awesome. I haven't given it a fair shake, but I think that has to be one of the most imaginative mashups I've ever heard of.
The idea of Cloud or Squall having a stare down, or who can be the most brooding with Goofy, is just, I love it.
Right. But then again, if you had said, hey, did you know like Donald Duck has a limit break? I would be like, that makes sense. The one character who you know is cussing out everybody, but nobody understands what he's saying, and he doesn't wear pants. Yes, Donald Duck is and will always be my favorite of the Disney characters.
He really just sounds like Gow.
Yeah,
to me.
like
half naked.
Yeah,
does rage.
He says he says something, and then Gal looks over and he's like, "This motherfucker's spitting flames." I'm sorry, I memed on that one, but yeah, there's no shortage of classic games. Now, one that we had mentioned, I guess you hadn't heard about it, but Werewolf had mentioned it in passing, was Disney's Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. Had you ever heard of that one?
No, and not until just now. I had to go look up a Wikipedia, and I'll let you tell about it. But the one thing I find interesting is that the composer for that game is, hold on, I'm going to butcher this name like I usually do, Yoka Shinmura, who's also the composer on the Kingdom Hearts series.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's some back end looping here.
Right. Like they forgot they wrote his contract 30 years ago to include like 2 other Disney games. And like, oh, we should really bring him back. We already paid him.
Well, what is better, the plot of Kingdom Hearts or the plot of Adventures in the Magic Kingdom? Is there even a plot in this game?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the plot for what was the first one? I just lost the words.
Kingdom Hearts 33 and a fifth.
But I will say it has to be Kingdom Hearts, because I don't really know what the plot is per se, other than you're in the Magic Kingdom and your character has to go around to the different rides and complete these rides as if they're like the stages in the game, which have different, aspects. Like there's the, oh God, now I'm trying to think of the different rides that are featured in this one, but there's one that's very like Thunder Mountain, where it's a roller coaster, and you've got to kind of navigate through these different things and try to get it done a certain way. And then you basically just visit the different areas of the park, and you have to try to help the characters, I think, reopen the park. It's been a minute, I'll say it that way.
You want
But
the plot
as
line?
ugly,
I have it here.
yes.
Goofy
Okay, tell
left
me
the
about it.
golden key for the castle gate inside, and it's up to Mickey Mouse, asking for the players to help to find 6 silver keys needed to open Cinderella's castle and allow the Disney parade to begin.
That's what it was. Sure. Yeah. No, this is a game that I own and I remember it, but I can't say I've sunk too much time into it. In fact, I bought it because I was planning on taking my family to Disney, and I wanted to get my kids hyped up for it because they like Disney, but they were never like huge Disney kids. So I'm like, well, they better start being exposed to it because we're about to go live in it for 10 days.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So to prepare your children for Disneyland, you made them play the incredibly difficultly hard NES Disney games?
And also ugly. It's not a very attractive game. But yes, like think about this. If they're thinking, okay, well, if this is anything like that video game, I'm not very much looking forward to it. But then we get there and it's fucking Disney World, and they're like, this is much better. And now they want to go back because I made them play a horrible game beforehand, I guess. I don't know. I just, my wife and I, we were talking about the kids, and we're like, well, what all have we shown them of Disney? And I've shown them, like, Flight of the Navigator, which is a live-action one from the 80s that they're never going to incorporate into the park ever. So we started saying, let's make them watch some of the animated stuff. And I'm like, well, great, we have the games. Let's have them play the games. So whether it worked or not, I don't know. I just know we all had a fun time, which I have to ask you, because you said you're not really into Disney stuff. Why would you go to Disney World? Like, was that horrible for you? Were you like, yeah, it's the Lion King, no one cares?
Well, when I got married,
What was that like?
my wife is like, we need to go somewhere for our honeymoon. And I've said, well, why would you stay home and play Avengers Island? And she threatened to divorce me on the spot.
You
No.
can't get divorced if you haven't been married yet.
No, I didn't have much choice.
Oh, I got you.
No, we did our honeymoon at Disney World, and I've been lucky enough to go a couple times. We have family in Florida, so we can stay at family's place and go to the parks. Yeah, I don't hate Disney movies, but they're just never my thing. I was never, as a kid, big into the songs in the Disney movies. I was more a Warner Brothers guy. Wile E. Coyote, The Roadrunner, Bugs Bunny. I'm all over that. Muppets.
Sure.
I was all over into that kind of stuff. Muppets also being Disney property, apparently. Again, they own everything. But yeah, I never really got into Disney movies. Some of them are okay. I don't know. I'm more into their newer stuff, actually. Since having kids, the Disney, I'm trying to remember, Disney Animation Studios, not Pixar, but the other Disney studio that does 3D animation now. They did Tangled, Moana. I love Moana, and I sing the songs and drive my kids nuts all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Coco. Have you seen Coco?
Oh, that movie is so sad.
No, I love Coco. It's wonderful, and it celebrates the meaning of family.
Yeah,
and of course, the entire Mexican culture is just beautiful and great. So yeah,
it's a fantastic film. Like, I love it, and it's definitely high quality. And I played Coco, the VR experience.
Oh my God, that sounds terrifying.
It also made me cry, but not for the same reasons.
Oh, but I would love that. If anybody out there is listening who knows how to, do ROM hacks or develop anything video game wise, can we get retro versions of some of the newer things like, Tangled or Frozen? Oh my God. I haven't even seen the Frozen movies by the time we went to Disney. But while we're there, we rode the Frozen rides and went to the Frozen part of the parks. And I'm like, it's just utterly magical.
Did you bump into Elsa and just think she was a bitch, not realizing that was the character, or?
We were on this ride, and it's like you're on a fjord or whatever, you're on this boat and you're going down. And it was the one ride, I'm not trying to talk shit on Disney, but it was this one ride that we were into. And at one point, we show up and there's this animatronic of I guess it's Elsa, and she is doing nothing. She's standing there, and we're like, what? And then we went backwards on this boat, and it was the one time an animatronic was broke, and everybody was like, oh my God, what happened? And then we're like, ah! So it was so anticlimactic. That was my takeaway from it. Anyway, so I guess we can agree. maybe the magic of the classic Disney stuff, the Lion King, Frozen, all that stuff. Those kind of things are the magic of it's not as translated to video games. But the better Disney stuff, I agree with what you said. The DuckTales, the TV shows, those are fantastic and good fun. Oh man! Did you ever play Mickey Mousecapade?
Yeah, I think that's probably the first Disney game I played. I did not
Same.
play a lot of it, and I want to say I played it on the Master System, or it might have been Nintendo. I remember it's not bad, brutally difficult, but again, the problem I have with it is that it's Mickey Mouse, and I'm just not a Mickey fan. Like at Disney, I'd rather see Duffy, the Disney bear, than Mickey Mouse. I'm just not a fan of the mouse.
I've never heard of Duffy.
You never heard Duffy, the Disney bear?
I guess not.
I drive my wife nuts making up songs because Duffy's like a newer character, and I'm pretty sure Disney only created it because the copyright for Mickey Mouse was coming up. I mean, obviously they've extended that to the year 3055, but I think when it first was going to happen, that the possibility of Mickey Mouse being public domain, they needed new characters, and one of the ones you'll see around the park is this cuddly teddy bear with a sailor suit on, and I remember the first time we saw him. I'm like, who the hell's that? I may not like Disney movies that much, but I'm familiar with the characters. What's this bear in a sailor suit? And my wife is like, oh, we should go line up. I'm like, well, for what? Autograph? I'm like, yeah, it's Duffy. I'm like, who the fuck is Duffy? Duffy the Disney bear. Who the hell is Duffy the Disney bear? Were you making this up? And like, no, she's not. So you see families lining up at Disney for the autograph of Duffy the Disney bear.
That is a deep cut.
Yeah, and it's just so bad. But there's lots of Disney characters I like. But Mickey Mouse is not bad. He's fine. But Mickey Mousecapades it's a fun game, and I think that's Capcom as well. They really had a lock on that early license games.
Yeah, and I think there was a circus themed Mickey Mouse one that was on the Genesis. That's or maybe there was I'm pretty sure it's on my multi-cart for the Genesis.
There was a couple on the Genesis, yeah, and you have costumes that you can change into.
Right, and those were a lot of fun. I'm trying to let me search into my memory banks here. I know Dick Tracy technically is a Disney property, and so that video game I actually did enjoy. But the one I'm trying to remember is Little Nemo. No, that's Finding Nemo. Is Little Nemo a Disney property?
I don't think so. I don't think that's Disney. I think that's one of the few that they don't own.
Okay.
I mean, they own everything else.
Yeah,
Contra is a Disney character, and
They have like little Contra, Scorpion, and Mad Dog, and whatever their names are, like plushes. How cute would that be?
Mommy, I want this penis-shaped alien.
Right.
That Contra.
Who's your favorite Disney princess? The Vile Red Falcon. Of course. Actually, can you imagine the fun stuff they would do if they owned the rights to Mega Man?
I don't know, man. Wouldn't it'd be all anamorphic characters at that point?
Well, but that would be fine. And think about this. They never actually kill Wily or Sigma. Nobody ever really dies. You can always rebuild the Robot Masters. You fight them twice in every game anyways. They could totally get away with it. I hope they don't. But you know what else? I wanted to say this because I just got the game in the mail, and I cannot wait to tear into it. The Reignited trilogy for Spyro, right? I grew up playing the first Spyro, and that game to me was always magical. And I always thought, man, if Disney owned this or made like a park based on the settings and music of Spyro, it would translate so well.
Yeah, Spyro has like a very Pixar kind of quality to some of the world stuff. Like the characters are very charismatic, very charming. Charming as all hell, honestly. I love the character designs. I think, is it Elijah Wood that does the voice of Spyro in some of the games?
No. Does he? I didn't know that.
I think so. I could be just talking like Duffy here. Hold on.
So the cannibal killer guy from 300 the movie, voice in Spyro. Okay, I dig it. Also Frodo.
No. Oh, I'm wrong. Hold on. It's Tom Kenny that does it.
Oh, okay, sure. So Elijah Wood, if you're still listening, our apologies.
Yeah, please don't send Mickey with the baseball bat, please. My niece. I need my niece.
Do we think Elijah Wood listens to Press B to Cancel? I do. I like to think he does.
I mean, the guy plays Animal Crossing, so his standards are pretty low.
We just did that episode. We should send it to him.
Gotta go.
I have
get in
that
there
somewhere. Very cool. So, all in all, one more time, just to kind of wrap it up and put a nice little bow on it. Favorite Disney video game experience for you? Go.
I gotta say Contra. Contra is pretty good.
There's no way. I was going to say Contra.
No, you know what? The biggest moment or the favorite memory of a Disney game for me, as much as I like DuckTales, it's probably Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale co-op. It may destroy my marriage, but it's still a fun game to play in co-op, and it's a fantastic charm to it.
And I would be completely remiss, and I would yell at myself if I didn't mention probably one of my favorite Disney properties, Tron. I'm serious. I adore Tron. The first one, Jeff Bridges. I will watch anything with Jeff Bridges. I'm not saying I will love everything with Jeff Bridges, but I will watch anything with Jeff Bridges. Deep down, he is who I wish I was, especially vocally. The guy has just a tremendous speaking voice. But the Tron properties and Tron Legacy I enjoyed. I always keep wanting there to be more and more Tron, and I wish they would do more of it at Disney World. But yeah, the video games were always so much fun.
Yeah, Disney kind of ignores Tron, it's unfortunate because I also like those movies. I even like the 80s movie. I have
it's great.
a huge crush on Bruce Boxleitner. He's the one who played Tron. Why are you laughing? What you got against Bruce?
No, I don't have any. You said you had a crush on him. That just took me by surprise.
No, so I didn't know him as Tron originally. I'm a big geek, as if anybody had any doubt. I really love Babylon 5. It's a TV show, sci-fi show from early 2000s, I want to say. And he was eventually the star of that show. And he's great. I love him. And there's another character who plays an alien with this wild hairdo called Londo. Both those actors were in the original Tron movie. And to watch that and see them, it's just classic.
Londo Calrissian? That doesn't seem
Lando.
copyrighted.
That's what it was. Lando.
Lando.
Look, Disney can copyright so many letters, but not the entire alphabet. But it's Lando. I'll have to post a picture with it, or maybe we'll make it a thumbnail. It's great. But Bruce Boxleitner is great. I love him. I do like Jeff Bridges, and Tron video games. The original arcade game was a classic, right?
Absolutely.
And then even the more recent ones that came out afterwards. There's one on PC. I can't remember the name of it now, but it was a solid first-person game, and its story is kind of like a bridge between the last movie, and I think it ties into the new stuff, or it might be a standalone thing, but it's a solid story, and it was a fun game on the PC.
Yeah, now I'm trying to remember all the different names that they had for him. Again, let me dig into my my memory palace here, and I'm just riffing these off the top of my head. There was Tron 2.0, Adventures of Tron, Armageddon Advance, Tron Deadly Discs, Disc of Tron, Tron Evolution. That's the one I think. Tron Evolution.
Tron Evolution, I think, is probably, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, Tron is featured in, I think the one part of Kingdom Hearts that I remember watching and being like, okay, that was pretty dope, was the Tron things that they did in there.
Well, I'm glad they looped that in there, because it does feel that, like, I liked the reboot that came out a couple years back. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's because I like Daft Punk so much, but I like that movie, but it didn't perform as well. And I think that kind of steered Disney away from the franchise for a while. I know there was a sequel rumored, but I think that's been canceled, and that's a shame. It's a fun world. It
is, yeah, and wildly creative. The thing is, you imagine the inner workings of a computer back in the 80s, and then that's not, of course, how any of it works. But then everybody becomes so tech savvy, 25 years later, where every 12-year-old can build a PC. Apparently, I don't know. And then it's like, oh, this is, the premise is so flawed because it didn't age well, but yeah, like you said, it's so fun. And to me, it was very magical and incredibly immersive. And I find myself, when I was a kid and a teenager and a young man, and still today, daydreaming, like, in that world with the light clothes and the light bikes and just all of it was so cool and immersive, like you said. So it's good. I love it. I'm glad we got to do this. I like I said, I went 6 months ago now to Disney back in November of 2019, and not a day goes by that I don't remember something specific from that trip, and it's just such a magical experience. So I was happy to be able to have somebody to talk Disney with. So thank you.
That's touching.
Well, yeah, because you guys went in December, was that right?
Yeah, well, January, February, I forget. Time
Just right
flies.
before all the.
Yeah, all the craziness happened. Yeah, we went to Florida, and it's been a few years. Last time we went to Disney, we did bring our kids with us, but it was more a for us trip because they were too young to remember it. And so this time they got to remember it, which is good. And yeah, Disney, even if you don't like the movies, it's a fun place. Like a billion-dollar industry, sure, but it's still a fun place to go. And the charm carries over into a lot of the stuff they do, like the games. And it's a joy to play the Nintendo games.
Yeah, I agree. Not all of them can be winners, but the ones that are memorable are. I think a lot of people have strong nostalgia for those classics. The ones we talked about. We didn't mention the Little Mermaid game, which I have, but really the only time I've watched it, I think, was Sam the Game Man playing that on his channel. It was really, I'm like, oh God, I have this game. It looks awesome. But I just, never did it.
So real quick on that one, I don't care for the game, but my girls love Little Mermaid. And they demand, when they see me playing old Nintendo games, they demand that I play Little Mermaid. So I've beaten that game like 12 times, only because I can probably beat it fairly quickly, and my kids demand that they watch me play through it, even if it's not very good. Thankfully, they do not demand me to beat DuckTales, because that's hard to do.
That is the strongest motivation I've ever heard of for a reason to learn to speedrun. I got to play this game because my kids want to see it.
Yeah.
That's when you want to learn it. That's great. Like your kids come in, hey, Daddy, is that Little Mermaid? No, clearly this is Tetris. Oh, cool. Maybe play Little Mermaid for 20 minutes.
Daddy, you're playing. Is this Assassin's Creed again? I'm like, yeah. You're not allowed to play that around us. Like, well, what do you want me to play? Little Mermaid. You know what
you are allowed to say. Yeah. Okay, well, I think my big takeaway from this one is actually I do now want to try Kingdom Hearts. Oh, I think I have to. I know they just came out with the third one last year, and everybody was so hyped for it, and I think it got great reviews. I think all I needed was the push from going to Disney to be like, okay, now I'll give it a shot.
If you do, then because I think out of all of us, nobody's really played it, or not a lot of it. So you'd have to do an episode of what the actual fuck is Kingdom Hearts, because
let's do that. We'll do a what the actual fuck episode, and then I'll play it after.
Yeah, that plot is hilarious. I'd love to hear more about it.
Okay, we'll do that. So I'll tell you what. As we wrap up, why don't you let everybody know who you are and where they can find you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sick Jake. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter, SICJAKE. I also do this podcast called Press B to Cancel. I can't talk. Press B to Cancel. It's Duffy the Disney Bear proved.
Oh, God. You know what else is great is I've gone 35, almost 36 years never hearing about Duffy the Disney Bear, and I'm fairly certain that the moment we end this episode, I will spend 10 seconds forgetting that he exists forever. Like, I don't think I'm going to that's not a takeaway for me. It's cool to know, but I'm not ever going to tell anybody about it. I'll be like, what was his name? And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, Shoney's. Shoney's the bear. Who had a bigger impact on my childhood than Duffy the Disney Bear.
On the ranking of, B-tier bears and characters. It's Duffy the Disney Bear and the Shoney's Bear.
That is a, do you remember Celebrity Deathmatch?
Yes.
That claymation show? Yeah, I would watch that. Shoney versus whoever. I don't even know what Duffy looks like, but I imagine he's jacked. I don't know. Okay. So
he is a sailor.
Oh, well, just like Daffy. I wonder if they know each other. Oh,
in the same unit.
Okay, yeah, right. They were deployed at the same time. I shouldn't be so flippant. Thank you for your service, Duffy and Daffy. But okay, so yeah, my name is Guy Prime for Press B to Cancel, or you can find me on Twitch as the Therapy Couch, or you can find me as the Retro Therapy on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Sick Jake, thank you for doing this episode with me. This was a lot of fun for me. All right, I think we lost Sick Jake. So,
shit, I was trying to think of something witty to say, and I lost it.
Oh, I should have given you more than that time. I'm sorry, that small window.
If only I had a soundboard button to push.
Boom, 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 boom.
All right.
All right, everybody have a good night. And until next time, continue to bring your B game. Have a good night.
Special thanks for music go to Arthur the Ancient, found on SoundCloud, or The Last Ancient on YouTube. For more episodes, please visit our website, pressbtocancel.com. As well, feel free to like or subscribe at Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else you like to listen to your favorite shows. As always, thank you. This has been
Press B to cancel.
Press B to